Blue letter. Judges 1. All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the Son of Mashak Yahweh Shai, who we know as Jesus Christ. We're gonna be reading. Just gonna be a read along today. Judges 1 through 3, maybe 4. Depending on time purposes, we'll get into the story of Deborah, which is basically just a chapter or two. But to prove Israel by them is a statement that's made within these first 3 chapters that I wanted to glean from. Understanding that some of these nations and us being among them was initially a test, and it's still a test to this day. Still a thorn. Still a thorn in our flesh today. And even when dealing with the land, there are people there that want to get rid of other people there and so forth, and wars going on because they can't get rid of these people even there. And it's even with the Damona Israelites that are over there, the Ethiopian Jews that are over there, and then the Ashkenazis and all and so forth. But it's a pool of nations over there fighting for that land. Shalom, brother Dion. I see you popped in, but it says none of their devices connect. Oh, I can see you add you to the stage. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, huh?
Percent. Like I said, it's gonna be very swift here, man, with this with a read along here. Let's share my screen. We'll go ahead and get started into this thing. I read the first chapter. And if you can read the second for me, that'll be lovely.
Sure.
I started with Judges 1:1. It says, now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass, and hold on to that. Hold on to that, because you'll see something in chapter 2. Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. All right, Judah selected to go first, to go up against the Canaanites. And Judah, verse 3, and Judah said unto Simeon, his brother, come up with me into my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise go with thee into thy lot. So Simeon went with him. And we see Judah, tagging along Simeon. I could see brothers saying, man, hey, the Lord said you gonna go first. Well, don't get me involved. The Lord said you. But Judah was like, hey man, Simeon, let's go do this. Verse 4 says, and Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hands, and they slew them in Bezek, 10,000 men. And they found Adonai Bezek in Bezek. Adonai, we say that sometimes in Hebrew. It means Lord. Lord Bezek. In Bezek. And they fought against him, and they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adonai Bezek fled, and they pursued after him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and his great toes. All right, his thumbs and his big toe. They cut that off. And Adonai Bezek said, 70 kings having their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table. As I have done, so God hath requited me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. And so the king, or the Lord of Bezek, after Judah and the Simeon, after they end up catching him, cut his thumb and his big toe off, and then he started reminiscing about what he had done to 60 kings. And he cut their thumbs off and had them, gathering meat, with no thumb, gathering food with no thumb under the table. And it was like, you know what, man, the Lord, and this was, and we understand that these are Gentile nations, but he had the understanding that, you know what, this is what I'm getting paid back for what I did to them other folks. And then he died. Verse 8, it says, now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it. Now the children of Jerusalem had fought against Jerusalem. The children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it and smitten it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. And afterward, and then you could kind of tell, the time frame of when this was written. Because was it Jerusalem before Israel got in there? Was it Jerusalem before? What does Jerusalem mean? Something peace. City of peace. Let me see what Jerusalem means. Teaching of peace. Teaching of peace. But I don't think it, I think this is, of course, this is after the fact. All right. Verse 8, and now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it and smitten it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. And afterward, the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwelt in the mountain and in the south and in the valley. And Judah went against the Canaanites that dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron before was Kirijathbah. And they slew Shishai in Ahiman and Talmai. And from thence he went against the inhabitants of Debir. And the name of Debir before was Jehoshaphat. And Caleb said, he that smiteth Jehoshaphat and taketh it, to him will I give Aksai, my daughter, to wife. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, and he gave Aksai his daughter to wife. All right, and Othniel is Caleb's nephew, and he gave his nephew his daughter to wife, which would make them what? That they cousins.
God.
And it came to pass when she came to him that she moved him to ask her father a field, and she lighted from off her ass. And Caleb said unto her, what wilt thou? All right, what do you want, man? She jumped off the donkey. What do you want? And she said unto him, give me a blessing, for thou hast given me the south land. Give me also springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the nether springs, the lower springs. And the children of Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, went up out of the city of palm trees, Jericho, with the children of Judah into the wilderness of Judah, which lieth in the south of Arad, and they went and dwelled among the people. And Judah went with Simeon his brother, and they slew the Canaanites that inhabited Zephath, and utterly destroyed it. And the name of the city was called Hormah. And Judah also took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Ascalon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof. And the Lord was with Judah. Watch this now. It says the Lord was with Judah, and he drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. All right, they had chariots of iron. They had more advanced military might. All right, they had the chariots of iron. That was something we weren't used to. And really, pre-exilic Israel, well, if you're dealing with even during the time of Saul, and David, fighting Goliath, Saul and Jonathan, his son, were the only ones that had armor. All the armor and swords and stuff had to be made by the Philistines. They were masters in the iron and the works. We didn't really have that skill set. So David tried to give the armor to David. David, just being much smaller than Saul, he couldn't, like, man, I can't do nothing with this. Go ahead, verse 20. And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, and Moses said, and he expelled, as Moses said, Shalakia, and they gave Hebron unto Caleb, as Moses said, and he expelled thence the 3 sons of Anak. The children of the Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. All right, and what the initial mission was for us to get these folks out of there, but we see you couldn't, even though the Lord was with Judah, they couldn't cast them out because of the chariots of iron. We see Benjamin. Well, we see Caleb. He got his land, his inheritance. He got them folks up out of there. He got 3 sons of Anak. He got them up out of there. But the Jebusites in the land of Jerusalem, where Benjamin is occupying, the Jebusites dwelling among them, even to this very day. Again, showing that this is being written after the fact. In the house of Joseph, they also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. And the house of Joseph sent the describe, and the house of Joseph sent to describe Bethel. Now the name of the city before was Luz. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city. And I be questioning about even reading those in parentheses, but that's some personal conviction. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city, and they said unto him, show us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city. Very important point here. It said, and spies saw a man come out of the city, and they said unto him, show us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city, and we will show thee mercy. And when he showed them the entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword, but let go the man and all his family, like a Rahab situation. But you got some random man coming out of the entrance. He told the spies, just like Rahab hid the spies. What's the best way to get in that thing, and he showed them, and they showed him mercy, him and his family. Verse 26, and the man went into the land of the Hittites and built a city and called the name thereof Luz, which is the name thereof unto this day. Neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and her towns, nor Tananach and with her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Ableon and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. And it came to pass when Israel was strong that they put the Canaanites to tribute. Tributes, it ain't taxes. Nah, it ain't
Oh, it ain't
taxes here.
taxes.
It ain't taxes here. Let's check it out. I had to look into it myself, my good brother. But that's exactly what I said. But I said, man, let me just check it anyway. You see tributary, but it says gang or body of forced laborers, task workers, labor, band, gang, forced service, serfdom, levy, tax masters, labor band, gang overseers, forced service, tribute, enforced payment, i.e. a tax in the form of forced labor. So it is a tax, but the tax is in the form of forced labor. And I think I looked it because the NLT says slavery. And so I was like, man, let me just look into this and check this thing out and see what it say. But they went into the Canaanites, he put them into slavery. And did not utterly drive them out. Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Ketron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalo, but the Canaanites dwelt among them and became tributaries. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, nor the inhabitants of Zidon, nor of Ablab, nor of Akzeb, nor of Helba, nor of Afik, nor of Rehob. Yeah, and it's just a constant, we seeing a pattern, they not getting these folks up out of the land. But the Asherites dwelled among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, or they did not drive them out. Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Beth Anath, but he dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath became tributaries unto them. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain. And we would be wondering what happened. What happened to Dan? Forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. The Amorites would dwell in Mount Heres, in Ajalon, and in Sha'albim. Yet the hand of the house of Joseph prevailed, so that they became tributaries. And the coast of the Amorites was from the going up to Akrabim, from the rock and upward. All right, so just seeing a constant situation. This is why I said, this is why you named the class to prove them, meaning these nations. All right, we're really gonna get to the gist of it in this next chapter. Why these things are happening? Why is Judah among the Lord is with Judah? The Lord wants us to get into the land, but at the same time, we having issues getting these folks out. We had a couple great battles in Numbers, couple great battles under Joshua. But now that we getting into the land and we dividing this thing up, okay, this your portion, go in there and get so now each tribe got to go in there and get the people out. There's issues getting these people out, but it's still enough. It's still enough might to put them under captivity. All right, but not to get them completely out of the land. Chapter 2, you with me out?
Chapter 2. And the angel of the Lord came up to Gilgal to Bochim and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. You get an echo?
No. You have an echo?
Yeah. So if you can't hear, don't trip. Verse 2 of Shalakia. I made you to go up to Egypt and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Which have ye done? Why have ye done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept, and they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord, that he did for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath Timnatheres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill Gaash. And also all the generation were gathered unto their fathers. And there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel.
So
All
we see that after the leadership died, after Joshua got up out of there, and then the leaders that were with Joshua, that lived and seen the great works and seen how the Most High brought us out of Egypt and conquered these different nations for us, and gave us this land and made these. So then you have another generation coming in that did not know the Lord. And that's why it's important that we like the Judges 5:11, we rehearse the righteous acts, but it's not really talking about us putting on clothes and reenacting things. It's more so, and that could be the case, but it's more so speaking on just going over these things, make it reminding the younger, telling the stories, giving the testimonies of the great works and the great righteous things that or the great righteous acts, of telling the righteous acts of leadership, of what Joshua and Caleb did, and how they were fearless, and how the Lord brought us out of Egypt, and how we crossed the Red Sea, and how the Lord fed us and gave us provisions with the manna and so forth. We rehearse those things, meaning go over those things, tell these stories over and over to the youth, to our children, so that we don't run into a situation where this next generation comes up and they don't know the works of the Lord, and they don't know what he's done for Israel. And this ends up being the case here. And a lot of times when that generation forgets, we end up turning to this other foolishness. One last point too, we see how Joshua died, and it was we kind of had something like that in verse 1, would kind of make me think that maybe another writer came in, because Judges 1:1 starts with, now after the death of Joshua it came to pass. And then chapter 2 we see also it is saying it's going over the death of Joshua, also here in what's that, verse 6. And when Joshua led the people, verse 8, and Joshua son of Nun, servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. But it kind of just goes back over the death of Joshua. But he could be using this, the writer could be using this to emphasize the fact that they've lost contact with their leadership and have gone astray. But go ahead, Shalakia.
Verse 11. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim, And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Ashtaroth. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which the fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not so. And when the Lord raised them up judges, then the Lord was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented the Lord because of their groanings, by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them.
And that's an important point there, is that we see the cycle, all right? And this pretty much the cycle. This is just the cycle of Israel. Before we even get into the different, the big major captivities, we see that the Most High's, those that we done took into captivity, we done made tributaries, because we end up starting to bow down, even as them being tributaries, even as we being, being the oppressors. We still bow down to their gods. Still bow down to their gods. Still bow down to their altars. And these things angered the Lord, and he ended up turning the tables and making us their spoil. And we see that same cycle throughout the text. But the very important point where we stopped at with was the key to he heard our groanings. Because of the oppression, he heard us crying out. And again, man, sometimes, man, you done cried out, did the same thing so many times, man. That's how you got to be grateful for the mercy and grace of our Lord and Savior, man, because we just doing the same thing over and over and over, and we don't have the capacity. A lot of jokers, I ain't saving you no more. Every time got this joker out of a ditch, and now the joker done drove. Now the next day you see the joker done drove the car back into the ditch. Then the next day you see done drove the car. Pulled them out and showed them how to get up out of there. And then every day it's the same thing, and eventually you grow weary. But the long suffering of the Father, man, that he's still dealing with us, man. But he heard our groanings, and still will hear our groanings. But like I say, man, a lot of us we enjoying ourselves, man. We are having the time of our lives. Where we at, Doc?
19.
And
it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, and following other gods to serve them and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he said, because that this people have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Israel, whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua.
So that was kind of the main theme of the class, is that through them I may test Israel to see whether they would keep the way of the Lord to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it or not. And you see, it's still another proving. He proved us in the wilderness to see, whether we turn back to Egypt, would we be obedient with the manna in the water coming out of the rock, and will we be obedient with the provisions of the Lord? And here we see a test where, will we be tempted to follow these other gods with these other nations there? Or will they be strong-minded? Will they have a pure heart? Will they have a complete or perfect heart towards me and say, nah, we ain't dealing with none of these other nations. We're not dealing with their deities. But we'll see, well, we know, but it's just how this thing go. Judges chapter 3, verse 1, I read it. It says, now these are the nations from which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as has not known all the wars of Canaan. Only that the generation of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at least such as before knew nothing thereof. So you had to test in Israel with these other nations, and also trying to get them with ready for war, because they don't, some of these new generations, they don't know war. They don't know it. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Zidonians, and the Hivites that dwell in Mount Lebanon, and Mount Baal Hermon, unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. Big no, but this came early in the game. All right. They took their daughters and gave their sons. And to give your son, son could have some influence with that, but those folks must still been making moves. Like, they still must have had some kind of influence. They must have still had something going financially. They had to still be kind of well off if they're giving their sons to them. I would assume that. I would speculate that. Speculation. Verse 7, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord their God, and served by Baalim and the groves. I heard somebody pop up.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought I heard somebody pop in.
Yeah, that's my phone ring.
Oh, okay, Shalaki. Therefore, the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord said, the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, Caleb's nephew. We read about it in chapter 1, who married his cousin, Caleb's daughter. All right, but he is the son of Kenaz, and Kenaz is Caleb's younger brother. And the spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. And the Lord delivered Cushan Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushan Rishathaim. And the land had rest 40 years. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And so we see the cycle. We see the cycle. Once the leadership leaves, and then that make me think, well, what happens with this generation? What happens when the great leaders of some of these organizations die out? What happens to those bodies? What happened to these great camps? What happens to some of these mega churches when personalities like T.D. Jakes and the Bishop Osteens and the Jamal Bryants and what happens when they die off in these mega churches? Is it someone there to lift these organizations up, or will the people scatter and go back to the world or go back to evil? But we see this with Israel. Once the leadership leaves and they get into a safe place, they in a good spot, they forget the Lord. They forget the Lord. And that's why we had the Hosea 15 quoted all the time. You know it. Because, it's something about the affliction in some of those rough times. The darkness is the only time that we try to flip the switch to try to find the light. When we in the light, we just don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate it. We take it for granted. Verse 12. All right. So he had 40 years of rest, and then the judge died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel and possessed the city of palm trees, Jericho. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. So first we did an 8. And then we come back and we do an 18 with the king of Moab. And the Most High is using again. I put them there to prove them. And then we seen earlier too, I think in chapter 1, where he says, I'm gonna make these nations a thorn in thy side, and their gods a snare unto you. So he placed these tools there. He put these landmines there around us so that you can, he ain't gotta go running far to get that whooping stick. Verse 15, it says, but when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, and then we see again hit the cry. When he cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger which had 2 edges of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab. And Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. Who said, keep silent. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had made for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat, and Ehud put forth his left hand and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the half also went in after the blade. The half is the handle.
Con.
The handle also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Them his entrails, his stomach. I think it's like his guts. Then went forth through the porch and shut the doors of the parlor upon him and locked them. When he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, surely he covered his feet in his summer chamber. And they tarried till they were ashamed, and behold, opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their Lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And the herd escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Seir-Aph. And it came to pass when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, follow after me, for the Lord have delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over, and the slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and they escaped, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. All right, 80 years, the land had rest. Very important too that he blew that trumpet. He blew the trumpet. Everybody heard the trumpet and assembled themselves together. And and they heard some good news. They heard the gospel. They heard glad tidings. Listen, the Lord has delivered Moabite to you, man. The Moab to you. Understand he already done stabbed the king and had him folded over in his parlor. Verse 31, it says, and after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, which slew the Philistines, 600 men with an ox guard, and he also delivered Israel. And ox guard is kind of like a stick. It kind of got a sharp. It's almost like a stick with a railroad track nail at the end of it. And he killed 600 Philistines. Killed 600 Philistines with this thing. And these are some of these short names. Where we at for time? Well, we got a little time. So we'll read this chapter 4, and then we'll close out. We'll read Deborah, story of Deborah, and then we'll close it out.
This is Judges chapter 4. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of the whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah, Shalakia. Yeah, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah, and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment.
You see how it's
And she
kind of it's they probably it's after the fact, so there's probably a tree already named after her. But we reading after the fact. You feel what I'm saying? So they got a tree of Deborah, but you wouldn't think they had a tree of Deborah before she actually did the thing. But this is written after the fact. And so the writer's still gonna write, well, she was under the tree of Deborah. That's what's her tree. But yeah, go ahead, Shalaki.
35 and 8, Genesis 30. Let's get a precept here. Genesis 35 and 8.
That might give us an answer.
But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called Alon Bakath. Alon Bakath.
Alon means oak of weeping.
Okay.
Rebecca's old nurse, Deborah, died. So that could be the tree. That could be, so it could be, yeah, that could be the tree of Deborah. That same Akonachaf, that oak of wheat, could be for her, for that Deborah, rather than the Deborah that we're reading about.
Verse 6, and she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinum, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali, and of the children of Zebulun, and I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon, Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him.
And Shalakia, a lot of times we try to we don't want to give Deborah her flowers, and we want to say that, hey, she was a judge, but she wasn't really, she knew she had to send Barak because Barak didn't, Barak was man was supposed to get the honor there, but she still went. She said, she's saying in verse 9. Notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor, for the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. She went with him. I don't see where Barak is having this issue or trying to say, well, nah, you can't go. I'm a man, and that's not your place or whatever. Not Deborah went up with him. At this point,
it's lucky. It sounds like it's the opposite. It sounds like he wasn't going unless she went.
Yeah, he was like, right. That's what. Yeah, it's like, I ain't going unless you go. Like he had great respect for Deborah.
And she had the power. She had some kind of countenance about her that he needed that confidence. That was his. That seemed like that was the backbone of that situation. She wore the pants in that situation.
That's what, and we try to not say that. We try to talk that. We try to bring in fluff to take that away, but just from reading it, Yeah, it seemed like you said, like the boy was wearing the pants in this situation. She had and she was telling him, listen, man, you know, the God already done delivered these folks, man. Go on down there and go get them. He like, man, I ain't going without you. I ain't going to let you go. He said, well, okay, I go, but you know, it ain't gonna be, you ain't gonna get the honor like you supposed to get. You know, you can get a lot of honor if you going down there yourself, and but nah, he said like, nah, come on. He didn't say okay, well, stay here. Nah, they left and they went, and she went with them. But yeah, go ahead, Shalaki.
Verse 10. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with Shalak. I already read that. Verse 11. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent into the plain of Zaanan, Zaanan, Zanim, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak the son of Abinom was gone up to Mount Tabor. You about to say something?
Nah, go ahead.
13. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him from Harosheth of the Gentiles unto the river in Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord have delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Lord gone? Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the hosts unto Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, for there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn into me, fear not. And when he had turned into her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. Again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doeth come and inquire of thee, and say, Is there any man here? And thou shalt say, No. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer in her hand and went softly unto him and smote the nail in his temples and fastened it to the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary. So he died. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel, and the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed again against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan.
So and again, for them to have a king and it still be, still be among Israel in the land, you see it's being problematic, man. And again, the Most High is raising these nations up to put them in captivity, to whoop us for our disobedience. You see, Jael, Heber's wife, Heber being a Kenite. Those were from Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. They were the Kenites. They were walking, the father-in-law had to help Moses get everything in order and helped him with with getting the priests together. And what they were there in the wilderness. And Moses actually told them, "Hey man, why don't y'all stay with us, man? You know, we give y'all some land too. We get to that promised land." And the Kenites were like, "Nah." Well, Jethro and the Kenites were like, "Nah." But they had a relation. Is what I'm just getting at. There was a relationship between them. They were on good terms amongst each other. And we see this Kenite, Jael's wife. I want to assume she's a Kenite. No, he a Kenite, but his wife ends up putting a nail through Jabin, the king of Canaan, after giving him opening up a bottle of some milk. I don't know. Back in those days, and with no refrigeration, taking on some warm milk, man. That warm milk put him to sleep, I guess. And she ended up putting a nail through his head and showing
to the ground.
Nailed him to the ground by his temple, and then brung, because it was probably a tent nail, to nail them tents down.
Like a stake. God.
Right. And then came and showed Barak, like, "Hey, yeah, you chasing this joker. Let me show you where he at. Let me show you. Let me go see this joker." And again, you see, other nations involved helping us, but also nations there to prove us, to test us. And we in that situation today, man. You have nations over us that influence us, that we want to do everything these folks do. And I did that video. I posted a video I did like 8 years ago talking about a bully and how people who get bullied, you either come back and you fight back on the bully, or you get beat up so bad that you join the bully and you laugh at the same jokes that the bully laughs at you. And you start dressing like the bully. You start hanging with the bully. You start becoming the bully. You start bullying also. And taking on the bully's ways. And that's pretty much what we've done, man. It's in this pretty much captivity, we've taken on the ways of our oppressor, and forgotten the Lord, forgotten the works of the Lord. So understand that, man, that you in the proving ground. You got anything out?
Nah, man. It's a good read though.
Sometimes we got to do that. Sometimes we just gotta sit down with the text and just read. We ain't gotta precept to death. Even though we had a good precept pool with the good verse pool with understanding the tree of Deborah, and how that came back. And that's why it's good to have you a reference Bible. I be trying to, you just can't pick up any kind of Bible, man. Invest in you a good reference Bible that has some maps in there and some precepts, have some short lessons at the bottom, have a little commentary here and there, just so it can be some quick access to, if you have a question on something, you can have a quick access and know what that's talking about, and it can lead you to a good lesson, and it can lead you to some good knowledge. But if it's not nothing else, man, we're gonna close it out.
Hey, if you look at that verse 22, you see that word. It says, "And the nail was in his temples." That "was" is in bold letters.
Yeah, I see that. I see it's a little bold there. Yeah.
I wonder what.
It's something with that, but it has to be. Are you there is that you looking at the blue letter?
I'm looking at the screen.
Oh,
not. It's not like that in my Bible.
They did something. Yeah, they did. That's why they put it there. Well, I don't know, because it's in italics in the KJV. Also.
Oh yeah, it is an italics. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably just added for clarity to try to give
Okay.
clarity on it. In the NLT, it says with the tent peg through his temple.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they just let you know that hey man, we put that in there to to give you a little clarity on this thing, because those in the Hebrew they don't have those filler words.
Okay.
It's just tent temples. I meant nail temples.
Right. Now, I did have a question about that class you did on the history with the one cat. He was breaking down some of them tribes over there. Maybe we should just talk. I'll give you a call in a minute.
Yeah, con. We can definitely chop it up on that, man. And I want to dig more into that myself, man. I want to get more into y'all willing these next few weeks. The Arab slave trade.
Sub-Saharan?
Because huh?
Not the sub-Saharan.
Yeah, con. The sub-Saharan Arab slave trade, yeah, con. Arabian
Con.
slave trade. Cause it started 6th century. It started 6th century until like 2007 when they kind of ended it. What they wrote that they stopped it, but it's still going on. And we kind of skip over that slave trade. And just deal with the transatlantic. But if we're saying that there's a slavery in 70 AD that we went into slave trade, with who was buying and selling at that moment, and then you have the Arab slave trade, where why don't we count that if we were buying and selling, being sold and dispersed throughout during that period also. And then you have the transatlantic where we were being dispersed and bought and sold and spread throughout. But we had to talk about all that stuff, and that it'll get into also those things dealing with a lot of these African tribes, and how even Mansa Musa, Mansa Musa, how he made his money.
Yeah, I definitely heard of him.
He was
I'm
the
not
richest
sure.
black man,
Oh yeah,
ever on earth.
yeah. Well, he
Mansa,
definitely had to deal in. He had to deal in some kind of slave trade.
yeah, it was a slave trade. He was from Islam. He dealing with Islam, and they came
Free
out the
labor.
gates with the slave trade. Yeah, selling. So that's why he had all that gold. But yeah, man, we'll chop it up.
All right.
All right, y'all, Israel, man. We pray y'all this thing was edifying again. Sometimes we just gotta read. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get used, we gotta get an appetite to reading. All right, blessed he that readeth. All right, do we believe that? And then we'll see familiarities within the text and get better with the language and the idioms of the writers back in those times. So we can get better understanding and just delving into, taking our time with reading and delving into things, not overlooking sentences, and getting full understanding of things before we move on. Again, pray this thing was edifying, Israel. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all Friday, 7:30 on Bring It Out TV. Y'all willing. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, notification bell. We out. Shalom.